The ceiling fan above me wasn't mine.
I've been
That was
thinking
my
about
first
us
coherent thought as
and what we
consciousness
could
clawed
be.
its way back through the fog in my head. The second thought, this wasn't my apartment. The sheets were too soft, Egyptian cotton instead of my discount store specials. The room smelled like vanilla and bergamot, not the perpetual coffee and desperation that defined my studio. My heart hammered against my ribs as fragments of the previous night flickered through my mind like a damaged film reel. The office party. The champagne I rarely drank. Sarah Chen, my boss, asking if I was okay. Then, nothing. Just a terrifying blank space where memories should be. I sat up too quickly, and the room spun. That's when I heard her voice from the doorway, calm and measured as always, though something softer edged her words. "You're awake. I brought you to my place last night." Sarah stood there in yoga pants and an oversized sweater, holding 2 mugs of coffee. She looked nothing like the impeccably dressed executive who commanded boardrooms and made venture capitalists sweat. She looked almost human. "I'm so sorry, Ms. Chen. I can't remember." The words tumbled out as panic rose in my throat. This was it. I'd finally destroyed the career I'd worked so hard to build. 6 years climbing from intern to senior analyst, and I'd thrown it away by getting drunk at the company holiday party. "Hey, breathe, Marcus." She set the mugs down and sat in the chair across from the bed, maintaining a respectful distance. "You didn't do anything wrong. You got sick. Really sick. I found you in the bathroom, and you were burning up with fever. I tried calling you an Uber, but you could barely stand. The hospital seemed like overkill for what looked like the flu, so I brought you here where I could keep an eye on you." I stared at her, trying to reconcile this explanation with the shame spiraling through me. "I was sick. High fever, chills, the works. I gave you some medicine around midnight and 3 a.m. You probably don't remember." She picked up one of the mugs and handed it to me. "How do you feel now?" The coffee was perfect, cream, no sugar, exactly how I took it. She knew how I took my coffee. My boss, the woman who oversaw 200 employees, knew this small detail about me. "Like I got hit by a truck," I admitted. "Ms. Chen, I'm mortified. You shouldn't have had to." "Sarah," she interrupted. "And I wanted to. Despite what you might think, I don't see my team as just employees. You're people. You're brilliant people who make me look good every day." I'd worked under Sarah for 3 years, and in all that time, I'd seen her as this untouchable figure, brilliant, driven, slightly terrifying. She'd built our analytics division from nothing, turned down offers from tech giants, and somehow maintained a work-life balance that seemed mythical to the rest of us. But I'd never seen this side of her, the person who'd spend her Friday night nursing a sick employee. "The bathroom is through there if you want to freshen up," she said, pointing. I set out a new toothbrush and some clothes that might fit. "They're my brother's, he leaves stuff here." 20 minutes later, I emerged to find her in the kitchen, cooking. Actually cooking. The woman who survived on catered lunches and dinner meetings was making French toast. "Sit," she commanded, but gently. "You need to eat something before you take more medicine." I obeyed, watching her move around the kitchen with the same efficiency she brought to everything. The apartment was beautiful but lived in, full of books and plants and photographs. On the fridge, I spotted a child's drawing held up by a magnet. "My niece," Sarah said, catching my gaze. "She's 7. Thinks I'm the coolest person alive because I work with computers." The fondness in her voice was unmistakable. "I didn't know you had family in the city." "My brother and his family live in Brooklyn. I try to see them every Sunday." She slid a plate in front of me. "You probably don't know much about me at all, do you?" I felt my face heat. "You're pretty private at work." "I am," she acknowledged, sitting across from me with her own plate. "Intentionally. When I started in tech, I was 23 and looked even younger. I learned quickly that showing any vulnerability meant people would see me as weak, especially as a woman. So I built walls. High ones." She took a sip of coffee, staring out the window at the December morning. "But somewhere along the way, those walls became a cage. I became so good at being the boss, that I forgot how to be Sarah. Last night, when I found you, it reminded me that there's supposed to be more to life than quarterly reports and market share." I didn't know what to say. This felt surreal, sitting in my boss's kitchen, having possibly the most honest conversation I'd had in months. "Can I tell you something?" I asked, and she nodded. I've been thinking about leaving the company. Her eyebrows rose, but she didn't interrupt. Not because I don't love the work, I continued. I do. But I've been so focused on climbing the ladder that I forgot why I started climbing in the first place. My mom got diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's last month. She's only 62. And I realized I've been too busy to visit her more than twice a year. I've been too busy to have a life. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry about your mom. That must be terrifying. It is. The admission cracked something open in my chest. And it makes you think about what matters. You know. I do, she said softly. My dad had a heart attack 2 years ago. Survived, thank God, but it was a wake-up call. That's when I started the Sunday dinners with my brother's family. That's when I started saying no to some of the traveling. We sat in comfortable silence, two people who'd been performing their roles so diligently they'd almost forgotten who they were underneath. Don't leave, Sarah said finally. Not yet, anyway. Let me make some changes. I've been thinking about restructuring, creating more flexibility for the team. Remote options, compressed work weeks for people who want them. I've just been too scared to pull the trigger. Scared? You? She laughed, and it was genuine and a little self-deprecating. Terrified. What if it fails? What if productivity drops? What if the board thinks I'm going soft? She shook her head. But you know what? Last night, taking care of you, it reminded me what leadership is supposed to be about. It's not about squeezing every ounce of productivity from people. It's about creating an environment where people can do their best work and still have a life worth living. Something shifted in that kitchen. Some invisible barrier dissolved. I'd like to stay, I said. And I'd like to help with the restructuring, if you'll let me. I was hoping you'd say that. She smiled. Also, Marcus, you're getting a raise. You've been underpaid for at least a year, and I've been too buried in my own work to address it. I laughed, almost dizzy with relief in this strange new understanding. Thank you. For everything. For last night, for this morning, for seeing me as a person. Thank you for reminding me to be one, she replied. As I finished my coffee, Sarah's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and smiled. My niece wants to know if I'm coming to her soccer game this afternoon. Usually, I'd say I'm too busy. You should go, I said. I will. She looked up, and her expression was lighter than I'd ever seen it. And Marcus, next Sunday, if you're feeling better, you should bring your mom to dinner at my brother's. His wife makes the best lasagna in New York, and there's always room for more family. Family. The word hung in the air between us, warm and unexpected and right. I woke up in my boss's bed that morning expecting the worst day of my life. Instead, I found something I didn't know I'd been searching for. Proof that beneath all our titles and responsibilities and carefully constructed walls, we're all just people trying to figure out how to be kind to each other and ourselves. Sometimes humanity shows up in the most unexpected places. Sometimes it looks like your boss making you French toast and reminding you that there's more to life than work. Sometimes it's the courage to let your walls down and admit we're all a little lost, all a little scared, and all desperately in need of connection. I left Sarah's apartment that afternoon with medicine, her brother's borrowed clothes, and an invitation to Sunday dinner. But more than that, I left with hope, that maybe, just maybe, we could build something better. Not just at work, but in how we show up for each other every single day.